All righty. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Sunday night weekly live stream. If you're new here, we do this stream every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. to talk about the upcoming week. And if there's any severe weather to talk about, we'll talk about severe weather as well. It just so happens that we do have severe weather potential here. We do have a couple of days to talk about, but first, give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me okay. So Brock, Jess, Alan, Caleb, Donna, Tommy, what's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. Give me a thumbs up here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. Thank you guys for the thumbs up. Starting with today, we did have a severe weather risk today that was dropped at the 4 p.m. update. So no severe weather anymore is expected today. Looking at the radar behind the scenes over here on my computer, we are clear. There's just one little shower up in Clare County right now. Nothing too major to worry about with that. So maybe a passing shower throughout the state where you see that light green color in effect there. And that's going to be really the only concern today. No severe weather is expected with that marginal being taken out. Tomorrow, though, we are going to be starting a active period here in Michigan, where we're going to be looking at potential for multiple rounds of severe weather. Starting with Monday night in the UP, they did extend the slight risk over, which is level 2 out of a scale of 5. That's a yellow area. They did drag that over closer to Houghton and Marquette. And then a marginal risk is now brought over to the Marquette area, and that's going to be your level 1 risk. So it's the lowest risk there on the spectrum. And then if you notice, the entire state outside the western half of the UP is in that light green for the general thunderstorm risk. Okay. What are the hazards? We're concerned about damaging winds as your primary concern, especially in that yellow area, but also large hail a possibility as well. Time frame for Monday is going to be late in the evening, potentially after midnight. We'll go ahead and get into that here in a second, but that's going to be the start of a potential active period here that means as we get into Tuesday. Speaking of Tuesday, the entire state remains in a severe risk for Tuesday. We have a giant slight risk in effect for the entirety of the lower peninsula of Michigan, as well as a marginal risk further north into the UP. The only places not in a severe risk are up in the very far northwestern corner by Houghton in the UP. That's the only place in Michigan that is currently outside of any severe risk. So basically, we're all in it. Make it simple. So the hazards and concerns for this Tuesday time frame are a little uncertain here, as we have potential for multiple rounds, multiple scenarios. It's overall very, very uncertain. So let's go ahead and dive into the model here off of we're going to go ahead and use HRRR. We use this model all the time for future radar here. We're going to look at the solution here. Notice today is dry, just passing shower perhaps. Monday, tomorrow is mostly dry, maybe a pop-up storm. I don't really expect much to happen tomorrow, but as we get to tomorrow night, watch the activity out there to the west of us in Wisconsin and Minnesota. That's going to move our way into the UP, and that's going to be, we're going to call round 1. So round 1 arrives, according to the model here, right around midnight in the western half of the UP. That works its way west to east through the central part of the UP, and as it gets to the eastern half, it does start to weaken, but a secondary round, we call this round 2, begins to develop across Wisconsin. That may push eastward across Lake Michigan, and boom, we have a rival in northwestern lower Michigan, as well as portions of the eastern UP as well as a potential squall line there. This is Tuesday morning at 11 a.m., just before noon on Tuesday. Excuse me. So with that being said, that's potential for round 2. And then potential then turns to later on Tuesday evening for a potential round 3. But right now, that's even more uncertain. So we're not going to advertise a round 3 just yet. But just note that another round later in Tuesday, perhaps into Wednesday morning, is also on the table here. Just really uncertain at this point. So at least 2 rounds potential here. The overall consensus right now is that the highest severe risk is off to our northern half of Michigan. So those of you down by, say, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Flint, Detroit, Ann Arbor, Jackson, Kalamazoo, you guys right now are kind of trending more so to be on the quieter side. That could change. We're not going to lock that in. But right now, models are saying that we're not going to have too much in the way of activity until we get perhaps into Wednesday. We have some activity further south, but most of it stays further north there into the UP. And we're going to say north really of Mount Pleasant has the most activity here come Tuesday into Tuesday morning and early afternoon on Tuesday. So there's your model here, kind of zooming that in for you guys. We're going to kind of run this through the time frame, a bit of a zoomed in look here. So there's your western UP around midnight, just after midnight. That could be severe, damaging winds, large hail you're concerned. That weekends, round 2 develops in Wisconsin, pushes across Lake Michigan. It arrives right around that 10 to 11 a.m. Tuesday morning up there by Traverse City, Manistee areas. That pushes eastward through the state, and it clears the state on this model here. This is where it ends, unfortunately, at 2 p.m. here. So if you notice further south there stays pretty much dry, but we could see some development if this thing puts out like an outflow boundary that could spark some additional showers on the southern end down there by Grand Rapids or down here further south. But right now it's uncertain how far south it's going to reach. So right now, highest confidence north of, especially Mount Pleasant, but right now we're going to say north of Grand Rapids, I-96, if you guys know where I-96 is. So Grand Rapids to Flint and then north has the highest risk right now for storms. The environment here would be supportive of damaging winds as your primary concern, especially with the bow echo here. A bow echo looks like a bow and arrow. It has like a little bit of a backward C shape to it. This is what we call a bow echo, squall line, QLCS, MCS, a lot of names for it. Basically, just all it means is a lot of wind and a lot of rain, a lot of lightning, perhaps some hail embedded. Right now, not seeing anything tornadic-wise, but if things can trend correctly, we may be looking at a few isolated tornadoes with this line. Although right now, I wouldn't say it's a very high risk at all for the tornadic side of things. It should just be mainly a damaging wind risk. Okay. That's all I have for you guys as far as the severe weather threat goes. On top of that, we are looking at very hot and humid temperatures here. Looking at the temperature graph here out of the Lansing area. We use Lansing as a general center point for Michigan. We're looking at 90 tomorrow, likely going to be 90, perhaps 92, 93-ish on Tuesday. Wednesday backs off just a bit. We'll still be humid on Wednesday, but as we get to Thursday, Friday, we're going to see a casual, or should I say a gradual downtrend in temperatures into the weekend. We're going to be back toward the 80-degree mark, perhaps into the 70s by early next week. So this is our last, I'm not going to say last big warmth here, but we're going to be looking at warmer temperatures and then a gradual decline back to average for the end of August into September here. So the warmth won't last too long. So if you guys like the warm, humid conditions, which I don't know why you would, but if you do, enjoy it while it lasts. We have at least 3, perhaps 4 days worth of it left. And then we're back into a more seasonable temperature gradient. So expect and prepare accordingly. Take your precautions. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Work indoors in AC if you can. Excessive heat watches are in effect for the bottom tier of counties. I believe it's Marion, St. Joseph, and Cass, as well as Hillsdale County and Branch as well, under an excessive heat watch. So basically, it just says it's going to be hot. That's what it means. Outside of temperatures, we're looking at a few other things across the area. We're looking at the drought conditions here. We are lacking rain. We're beginning to lack rain in certain parts of Michigan. We talked about this last stream. We have an area by the Tri-Cities as well as Lenawee, Monroe counties. We also have the western UP now, as well as extreme portions of southwest Michigan, Berrien, and Cass County, all showing up as abnormally dry conditions. So hopefully we get some rain to knock some of that down. We definitely don't want to go into harvest season in a drought. That would be kind of bad for our crops. But for right now, not too big of a deal, but it may be trending that direction, especially if things can remain dry for these areas, which I think the rain over the next couple of days should be helpful. But I don't think all these areas are going to get soaking rain enough to make a dent and drop this. Okay. Outside that, your extended forecast here, we are looking, as we just looked at the long-term temperatures, we're looking back at the return to the 70s for early next week. And then that's going to be highlighted here on the CPC temperature outlook. We are in a below average contour to start September. So we're going to be looking at roughly probably mid to upper 70s for high temperatures as we get into that first week of September. So no Other heat waves right now are expected, but I don't think we're done with the heat just yet, as we have all of September to go. But I do think we are going to trend down in terms of severe weather activity. The pattern's kind of breaking down just a bit. So not too concerned for, these repeated sessions of severe weather into September at this point. But confidence in that obviously is low. It's just more so a seasonal time of year. We're going to start slowing down. I believe that's everything I wanted to cover here. So if I missed anything, feel free to ask some questions. I'll be looking at chat here. So if I missed something, feel free to go ahead and ask it. Just kind of recapping everything. Severe risk tomorrow late for the western half of the UP, potentially and probably after midnight. And then that's going to carry into Tuesday. Potential for multiple storm complexes. Highest confidence is further north. I want to end on this as we talk about Tuesday. Now, we did make a forecast here at MSC, kind of our own thoughts right now based off what we're thinking. This is kind of where we're at in terms of our thoughts here. So the green area up there, we're saying is our highest confidence area. And then how far south that gets is going to be dependent on mesoscale features as well as the exact track of any storm complexes. So we could add a little bit more of an area further south, but right now our confidence is definitely higher towards that Mount Pleasant and north area. And especially as you get to the UP and northern lower Michigan, that's going to be the highest confidence area as far as any severe weather goes. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, if you feel free to. We do not have this posted anywhere. First time you guys are going to see this forecast. So we're going to roll with it probably into tomorrow and adjust from there as well. Just want to highlight that bottom area that I've circled. Like I'd mentioned before, mesoscale features are going to be heavily dependent. So like I said, if you flip back here to the potential radar here on the model, go back here to the HRRR. So we kind of see that southern extent of this is more so right around the Grand Rapids to Mount Pleasant area. But if we have what we call an outflow boundary develop off the southern end of this, which is probably going to happen, that provides some extra lift. It may spark storms further south, but right now it's just too uncertain to really put a risk out there further south. Okay. With that being said, back over to the comment section. I see a couple people have become members. I see Stacy. Thank you for becoming a member. I see Heather as well, becoming a member for a month. Appreciate you guys. Welcome to the team and welcome back, Heather. I see you're a member for a month there. So thank you. Welcome to the team, ladies. Oh, you saw that? Yeah. I tweeted that earlier on my personal and I deleted it real quick. I didn't want to put it public just yet. So back to Tuesday. I know a lot of you guys are asking about upgrades, downgrades. I know there's a lot of hype going around on other accounts about Tuesday. Right now, I do not see anything worth hyping this over. We're pretty anti-hype here. Overall, I do think there's potential for a complex of storms to produce wind damage, but I do not think it's going to be an outbreak of any means. Upgrades, I'm not going to say yes. If it trends correctly, maybe a small enhanced corridor. Right now, I'm going to say probably not. And that probably, if it were to be introduced, probably up there closer to that Traverse City over to Roscommon area. I just don't think it's a very large area to introduce an enhanced risk with, and also with uncertainty in terms of the forecast. You're not going to get that until probably the day one time frame. Overall, I would think they're going to downgrade portions of, especially lower Michigan, closer to the 94 corridor. I could see that becoming a marginal risk instead of a slight risk. So if anything, I'm going to say they're going to downgrade this in areas. What happened to the face cam? I don't know. What happened to it? Isaac back here for 3 months. Welcome back, Isaac. And as always, appreciate your support of MSC here. Thank you for coming back. As far as timing goes for Tuesday, right now, it's going to start on the models 10 to 11 a.m. on the northwest corner of lower Michigan. All night long in the UP, there's going to be potential for some rain. Going back here to the model, kind of run this back through the time frame for time frames one more time. So here's Monday night. We're seeing some storms popping up there. Here's 11. There's midnight Eastern time. Here's 1, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4, 5 a.m. Kind of starts weakening out there. Then round 2 develops here. That's going to push across Lake Michigan. This is at 10 a.m. at this point in time. Here's 11. Here's noon, 1, and then where the model ends at 2 p.m. So potentially an early start to our morning here on Tuesday. So it might be a pretty long night for at least myself. Joel's, I believe, going to be starting college here, so I may be rolling solo come Monday night. So you guys are going to have to help me out if that's going to be the case. So hopefully it's going to be an easy night for us here Monday night, but I don't think it's going to be for the UP. As far as threats go, for all these days, damaging wind is your number one concern. Large hail, secondary concern. I'm not going to say no tornadic activity, although I would like to see a lot more of the ingredients come together to mention a tornadic threat. Right now, not seeing it. Are these fast-moving complexes? The answer is yes, very fast. Another thing to keep in mind as well, for those of you who are looking forward to the heat on Tuesday, if we do have a complex like this that actually does work through a Tuesday morning, that will likely cloud us over and probably going to lower our high temperatures a few degrees. So keep that in mind as well. The forecast for Tuesday across much of the state is 90 to 93 degrees. If that complex comes through, we may only get into the upper 80s or so. And yes, there is a cap in place. I wasn't going to go too in depth with this, but there is a atmospheric cap in place that may limit overall storm severity. A cap is basically a warm layer of air in the atmosphere that prevents storms from rising, so to speak. So if there is a cap in place, that may help limit the overall severity of this risk as well. But I think it's a little bit too far out still. I mean, we're only 2 days away from this now, technically, maybe 3. We got all Monday to go, and we're still a good ways out. So I'm not going to get too specific with details as far as your slim goes, as far as your capping goes. We'll do that probably tomorrow, and we'll likely have a stream tomorrow evening before we expect storms to develop in the UP. We'll give you guys an update on that, as well as how we're looking for Tuesday morning. So expect another stream tomorrow, right around that 7 o'clock time frame. And we'll schedule that in advance so you guys know what time it's going to be as well, but plan for 7. Any chance of a further north or south ability? Yes, Nicholas. The answer is yes. With these summertime complexes, things can shift pretty easily. Although the ingredients for severe weather right now in the models appear to be best overlapping further north. So even if it does come further south, I do still think better ingredients for severe are up where we made that forecast up north of Mount Pleasant. I'll go ahead and overlay that again. So green areas are some severe storms, blue areas are minimal severe. And that white circle down there is just indicating uncertainty as to how far south that's going to extend. So based on models, we're kind of thinking right around that I-96 corridor and points northward. But shifting definitely a possibility here as we get closer to this time frame and we kind of nail down some of the specifics that are not coming through on the models just yet. Models handle these summertime systems very poorly. So we always got to take that consideration making forecasts. Things can change very quickly. And a lot of times, these models don't really handle these at all. Like, for example, a good example here is this is the 18Z, which is afternoon run of the HRRR. If I go back here to the 12s, let's go ahead and go over here. So here's the 18Z. We're going to see, bear with me here, just give you guys a comparison what this looks like. Big old squall line coming across the lake here. This is at 8 a.m. on Tuesday. Now, if we go back here to the 12Z at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, it kind of looks similar, but it's further south. Take that in consideration. And these models flip-flop back and forth, north, south. Is it there? Is it not there? So overall, it's a hard forecast. It always is in summer times. All right. Any questions? Are fast-moving complexes a bad sign? Not always. It just means it's going to be out of the state quicker. But usually when you have fast-moving complexes, it doesn't really help the severity of it by any means. The humidity will be gone by Thursday, but I do think there is a chance of a shower or storm on Friday. So perhaps some lingering humidity into Friday. But as we get toward the weekend, a very pleasant weekend at hand for next week. Bill says, I think Adrian is going to experience 3 to 6 inches of snow. Um, we got about 4 or 5 more months to go on that. We will likely do a Labor Day forecast here come Wednesday, but right now I do think it is looking fairly decent. As we get to that time frame, it's looking very pleasant, like 80 degrees, minimal rain chances. So it's looking pretty good. No, what I meant by that, Jas, is overall storm speed doesn't translate to severity, whether it's a better severe threat or a lesser severe threat. The speed of the storm really does not affect that much at all. Where is Joel? Joel is MIA. I believe he's tending to some personal stuff, but he also starts college tomorrow. So he is busy in his personal life. So I would rather him focus on his college than be here tonight. But I believe he's handling some personal stuff. There is no SPC outlook for Wednesday just yet, but I would not be shocked if we have another at least general thunderstorm risk, especially for south portions of the state. Excuse me. I would not be shocked to see a severe risk close to Michigan if things can trend slower. The environment would be the same. I just don't know exactly where and when. Remember, this Tuesday outlook begins at Tuesday 8 a.m. and then it ends at Wednesday 8 a.m. before Wednesday's outlook takes over. So it's a 24-hour period here of the outlook. So are we going to be in a La Nina or an El Nino for winter this year? Good question, Michael. We are still, believe it or not, the El Nino is still hanging on to its last breath, really. What was expected to be a moderate to strong La Nina this winter, it's looking to be more so neutral, perhaps weak La Nina. So the forecast right now actually suggests neutral will continue into spring 2025, which could make things interesting for our next storm season. But right now, it's backing off the strength of the La Nina that was forecast originally. So right now, the forecast is weak La Nina, but it may also just tilt neutral. I know that's a lot of mumbo jumbo for you guys, but basically, we'll do some analysis on that and figure out what that means for our winter here. But I believe we're kind of trending, for my personal take on it, I believe we're trending to at least a colder and perhaps more snowier solution. And that's the overall gist that I'm getting out of it. What I'm seeing, analogs for past years with similar, historical data points. So we'll have a forecast for winter out probably sometime either late September, but probably going to be into mid-October, if we're being honest. We don't want to be first. We want to be accurate. And I think as we get closer to that November time frame, things are going to become a lot more clear. But by mid-October, we should have a better idea. Yes, we do need that snowpack. We were struggling down here. A lot of bugs didn't get killed off. A lot of things took a beating from the lack of snow and lack of snowpack from last year's warm winter. Is this going to be a derecho? No, probably not, Travis. Of course, we can't say that until it happens, but right now there's a lot of factors missing as far as what we would like to see for these big, nasty squall line type of events like a derecho would be. I'm seeing quite a few things missing. So overall, there is concern, yes, for damaging winds that are scattered, but I wouldn't say it's going to be a long-lived event that's going to track across, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ontario. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Hopefully I don't bite my words there, but there's just not much there to be talking about a high-end event. but also respect the weather enough that we know here in Michigan summers that things can change quickly. So we're going to keep an eye on things. We'll update you guys as needed, but everything that suggests and forecast models, stuff like that, nothing is pointing toward a big event. All right. The humidity should be gone by Thursday, but probably have a return back on Friday just a bit. And then the weekend is going to be really when you start noticing a difference here. So a little bit of relief come Thursday, but you're going to like the forecast beginning on at least Saturday. And then into next weekend, into next week, it's looking pretty much like we've had the past couple of days here. We had, 70s and minimal humidity. So it's going to be like a repeat of that. A derecho is a big line of storms that expands 60 miles north to south, so to speak. So it's up, down 60 miles long. It tracks at least 240 miles and has a consistent path of wind gusts recording 58 miles per hour or higher. I believe there's also a requirement that's kind of loose, so to speak, where it has to have a few significant wind gusts, like 70 plus miles per hour, too. So basically, it's a big line of storms that produces a big swath of damage of wind. We haven't had one this year, to my knowledge, in Michigan. The storms in Muskegon County back, I believe, on June 25th came close. That's kind of like a derecho would be, but it was such a localized area that it wasn't really officially classified as one. It didn't track the full 240 miles, but that's if you guys remember the storms early morning on, I believe it was June 25th over in Muskegon on the west side of the state. It tracked southeastward toward Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, those areas. The day that we had a gorgeous shelf cloud over there across those areas, that was, we'd call it a mini derecho, but it wasn't officially a derecho. You should be fine, Jerry, for that. And no, I don't think tornadoes are going to be a very big concern throughout the risk areas. Damaging wind should be your primary, large hail secondary concern. Anything tornadic is going to be very isolated in nature. I don't really see too much there to warrant mention of any significant concern for that. No, June 25th was not a derecho. It was like one similar. It was a big old line of storms, yes, but what didn't track didn't meet criteria. It needed to track a little bit longer, and it just didn't do that. Wind speed should be 60 miles per hour, maybe a few higher than that, but I don't think it's going to be a big event that we're going to be looking at widespread, 70 plus miles per hour. Real feels, Nicole? No, I did not. But the real field temperatures for tomorrow across the state with the humidity and heat, excuse me, will likely be in the mid to upper 90s. Come Tuesday, we're looking at likely 100 degrees in some spots. We actually jump into that real quick here on the model. Give me a second here. There we go. Perfect. So here is. Am I behind on this? Okay, I see. Let's go ahead and roll this into 18Z. Perfect. There we go. So here's tomorrow. Real field temperatures, mid 90s across the state. And as we get into Tuesday, here's where the big one comes. It looks like it kind of backed off just a bit off of what it was showing earlier, but mid 90s there on the real feel. And then there's your relief. Check out that temperature difference. 91. This is like a real feel, obviously, heat index versus the heat index versus heat index here, but it's 93 in Lansing there, 73 in Grand Rapids. That's a 20-degree difference. That's a sharp gradient there. So it's going to cool off fast. You're going to notice it when it comes through. All right. About 30 minutes here. Yeah, no Julie tonight. Wonder where she's at. No, not seeing tornadoes is a big risk come Tuesday. I wouldn't be shocked if they put a 2% out just to kind of cover the basis, but I don't think it's going to be a threat we're going to have to kind of mention and be like, yeah, we got to watch out for tornadoes. I don't think it's going to be the case. Maybe one spin up, but it would take a lot to get that. We should have much more detailed information tomorrow evening on our stream. So if you're, you should come back and watch, or at least pay attention to the page and also your trusted sources as far as if this risk gets upgraded, downgraded, stuff like that. So keep an eye on things. Things can change. We'll have a much better idea as far as timing and hazards go tomorrow on tomorrow's stream. All right. Any more questions, guys? Yeah, I don't really think there's too much of any severe risk at this current moment further south toward like the Jackson area. I think it's going to be more so further north. But again, if anything's going to happen, it's going to be basically off the southern flank of that complex that works through, which is a possibility. But even then, the ingredients further south for severe weather don't look as promising as further north. Come on, where'd it go? There we go. So there's your complex of storms there Tuesday morning. And what develops in the southern end of this is going to be heavily dependent on what happens throughout the day. So we could definitely get some development down here. But overall, I think the better chance for severe is up here. All right. All right. The answer for you, Bill, is likely not going to be dry for. So Bill's question or Bill's statement here is saying many weather pages, including the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, have us dry. So a lot of those forecasts are based on like weather apps and stuff like that. It's based on one model. And if you look at a model that's not this model, it may be dry. So, like I said, a lot of uncertainty does go into this. And overall, there's a lot of uncertainty with this forecast. Some people will probably be dry on Tuesday, but I think there's going to be a majority of us who are going to get rain. The big question is when. So, I do think that these weather apps are wrong for a lot of you guys who are saying, I've seen so many comments on the page the past couple of days. My weather app says nothing about this. That's usually how it goes until you get a bad storm on your doorstep. I'm not trying to knock them, but weather apps are horrendous when forecasting for precipitation. They're great at temperatures. They're great if you have like a need for radar, but as far as like your severe weather goes, storm arrival stuff, it's terrible. What's the best model to look at? So it depends. It depends really on your situation, what kind of forecasting you're doing. Really, when it comes down to it, the HRRR is kind of the bread and butter, but we utilize many models to kind of back it up to get a better idea of things, how it's looking overall. So we use a wide variety. Outside the HRRR, I believe the best one that we're using has been better than most is the RFS model. It kind of bounces around a few days out, and then we get closer, it kind of locks in a little bit. But we also use the NAM3 model. The NAM3 has been completely in left field the past couple of systems, so we don't use that one for right now. There's many models. If you're looking at long-term forecasting, GFS Euro, that's going to be your bread and butter. But as far as like real-time forecasting, nothing beats looking at data that's actually happening. What is a good weather app? So there really is no good weather app outside looking at temperatures and stuff like that. Personally, my favorite is Wonderground. It's very accurate in terms of temperatures. It's fairly accurate as far as precipitation goes, and it's also when there's actually severe risk, it'll actually say gusty winds and small hail, or gusty winds and large hail possible in storms. So it actually kind of tells you if you read the forecast. So I'm not gonna, we're not sponsored by it, but one Weather Underground's app does do a good job. But again, they're not meant to replace severe weather forecasting and severe weather forecasts in general. Can you see my cats? I don't think Pippi's around. If she was, I'd grab her, but I'm also wired tonight, so I can't go anywhere. Any snow on the long range models? No, Bill. Sorry. I believe my father is going to bring my cat in for you guys. He's out there listening, so I believe he's going to grab her. All right. Any other questions, guys? Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Come on. Okay, you got it. There we go. Are you happy, Brock? Say a few words. Get this down there. There we go. What time frame? So we're gonna get a timing map probably up tomorrow evening for you guys. Looking at right now the UP, backing this up here. So UP starts tomorrow evening around midnight and after midnight. So based off the model here, we're looking at midnight for arrival time of storms in the western UP. Second here. There we go. Back it up here. So here's midnight. There's 1 a.m., 2, 3, 4, 5. And that kind of dies off there right around 5 a.m. And then round 2 comes behind that and arrives in northwestern lower Michigan around the 10 to 11 a.m. time frame. And then after that, that works through. This model ends right here at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. And then there's also potential for a third round later in Tuesday. But right now, we're not seeing anything on models. However, I believe it's a possibility that's not being shown currently. So potential for 3 rounds. I see Red Dozer back here with 20 gifted memberships. Thank you, Red, for doing that. And welcome to the team, those of you just got gifted memberships. Those will expire after 30 days. Okay, Pip. I see you. Okay. Those will expire after 30 days, and then you have to renew those manually. Those are gifted randomly, so the person who gifts it does not choose, and also we do not choose as well. That's a complete YouTube random thing that they do. As long as you are subscribed to us on YouTube and you have gifted memberships turned on your YouTube account, you are eligible. I see Jas here gifting 20 memberships. Thank you, Jas. As always, and for those of you who just got gifted, welcome to the team. I got fur in my mouth now, so go figure. All right. Any other questions, guys? If not, we'll go ahead and hop off here in a second. If you're just joining us, I would highly recommend going back to the first 12 minutes of this stream. It covers everything in detail from temperatures, upcoming week, severe weather risks, timing, approximate timing, and hazards. So rewind it back to the beginning, watch the first 12 minutes of the video. You'll be all caught up to speed here. With that being said, though, I'm going to take one last look at chat here for some questions, and we'll go from there. Anyone out chasing Tuesday? Yes, we'll have a few people out. But being early morning is going to make it kind of hard just because most of our guys are working full-time jobs. So we will have a couple people, but it won't be a whole barrage of us. I believe I'm going to be solo here on stream come Monday night into Tuesday. So that's going to be fun. Might be a long night and a long day for me. All righty. All right. I don't see anything else. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow evening on another briefing here. We'll hopefully have some things locked down for you guys as far as timing and hazards go. But right now, just stay tuned to the page as well as your other trusted sources across the state of Michigan. With that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow evening. You guys enjoy your hot, humid evening out there. Make sure you're staying hydrated.